property on the west side of Burton Road. I think in your packet you have, and I have yellow highlighted roads. It's the orange circle on there. It's at the end of that road.
Okay.
And it's already been built. The next step was getting this easement agreement approved by the commission so that they can go and have it recorded.
Okay. Any questions?
A few months ago, is this the same group that we had a discussion with a few months ago about coming back with a total plan on
Yes, the
everything?
master plan.
And this fits into that master plan?
It does.
Okay. Okay, then I have no further questions.
Good. Motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve the road maintenance agreement as presented.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, Scott.
Scott Carler, Event Director, Business Manager. Tana, do you want to come
Sure.
Yeah, this is a first. I don't know quite sure what I'm doing. Here I am.
Oh, you're in the hot seat.
Good. I don't have a problem with that. Tana Homer. I am a teacher and coach at Island High School.
So Tana reached out to us regarding use of our volleyball pits for some of their open court practices. Do you want to just talk a little bit about the event and what you're looking for?
Right. Well, seeing the courts are, I would say probably more of a hazard to use right now for volleyball. They're very hard, the sand, and due to limited space after our fire, I'm looking to use those sand courts not only for that purpose, but because I feel like beach volleyball brings a whole nother element and increases our skill and knowledge of the sport. So I want to include that in my practices this summer. But we'd like to use the courts that are provided, but they, I would say, are not in working condition. So I'm asking, is that what you want me to move to?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm asking for help in maintenance, or at least like tilling it up. I walked over there the other day and it's pretty hard packed, and I thought it's going to cause a lot of injuries that I am not going to be able to use the courts and bring my girls to play there with the sand being so compact. So I just would love to have like it tilled up pretty deep, and then we can even help, you know, remove the rocks. We're happy to do some work on it, but initially I don't have the equipment to get that deep till to bring that sand up to a better usable condition.
So there's actually two requests. One is she would like to utilize the volleyball courts for 7 days for this open court practice. And that's a fee of $1,400. And so I think there's the request of to have that fee waived, correct?
Right,
Okay,
correct.
so that's first. And then second, I guess, is the condition of the volleyball court. So we recently had a drain installed in the volleyball courts. As part of that, they went in with a mini excavator and they buried the drain. The clay that's on the bottom of the volleyball courts, in some places, is only 4 inches deep. So we can't go in there and till it up. But we did go and we turned it because high school rodeo, or junior high rodeo, had a volleyball thing that they did as part of one of the rodeo days. They went and played volleyball. So the courts are pretty good. We can try to get some more sand and throw it in there. We've got new nets on all the courts.
Yeah.
But we can't take any equipment to till it up because of the drain system that's in there and how deep or how shallow the base is.
You can't do any what?
We can't till it up. We can't go deep. So we do have a couple of pieces of equipment that we can take over there and we can scrape the top and make the top fluffy, but we can't take it down deep.
But you could put more sand there.
100%.
And wouldn't you do that anyway, because this is a public court, right?
It is a public court. And
Yeah.
so, no, we wouldn't put more sand in it right now. The issue we run into is we have to first solve an issue with protecting creating a wind barrier. And so we've been discussing ways to, because most of the sand that's on that volleyball court, it gets blown off into the back corner and down the hill. So there's actually a little sand hill back there where the sand's really deep. So we first have to figure out how to prevent the wind, which we've talked about a couple of different options. One of the things we'd look at doing is maybe putting in a hedge, like an actual garden hedge, that we can grow in there maybe a couple feet to block the wind from a couple directions, rather than doing rather than doing anything concrete. We just put in a garden hedge to try to block the the wind. And then sand in volleyball courts is a different sand than we use for all of our other arenas because it's a washed sand. It's quite a bit more expensive. And so we have not put any sand in there. We've tried to pull sand off. We took the skid steer over and cut the sidewalk out. We had to remove the benches and pull that stuff out, put that sand back in. This year we had the drain installed. We capped all the sprinklers that are over in that area. So we're doing a lot to try to rehab those volleyball courts, but it just is it's kind of a slower process for us. We don't rent them a lot. They get used a lot, but we don't rent them a lot.
Yeah, and that's my other thing is being at the school, I have a lot of contact with the students and boys in general as well. We've been talking about, like, they would love to play. So I think they would get used, and I think they do get used. I don't even particularly need the rental fee waived. That would be like, I have certain days and certain times that I want every Wednesday that we're planning on using it. That would be awesome if we could have it scheduled and waive that. I don't know that there's many people going to be over there at, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning every Wednesday on a certain day and time that would necessarily be as big of an issue as just having, more sand would be ideal.
And so, if you're going to go get this sand, that's going to cost some extra money. So if you are not that adamant about getting the fee waived, how much would that help with getting extra sand and putting it in there?
Well, we don't take the fees that we generate and roll them over to buy things.
Right.
So we just have to try to buy it out of our current budget.
Right.
And so before I put any sand in there, we've got to fix the wind issue, or else it's just going to blow right out again. So that's the first thing that we've got to do. And the volleyball courts, again, they do get used by people. Every summer they're used as a kiddie pool, or spring they're used as a kiddie pool because they fill with water because of the runoff from the hills. So that is, it is a foot of water. That's one of the reasons we installed those drains in there this year. So it's not as high on my priority as some of the other projects that we have.
So I don't want to invest a lot of money in sand and stuff until I might make sure that these drains are working.
Oh, I agree,
I don't
because
want
I see
to
that it's underwater.
Yeah.
Every year I walk the wellness frequently.
So that's one thing. I don't want to invest a whole lot into it. I want to see what's going there. But on a temporary basis, to throw a minimal amount of sand there.
So
and a snow fence around it or something could possibly do something for the wind. I don't
We
know.
talked about doing a snow fence on there as well. We talked about doing like a decorative fence that looks nice, but really wants something that if people fall into it, it's not going to hurt the people. So that's why putting up some hedges would be probably the best case scenario for us.
But that's a 2-year project or longer.
Yeah.
Get the hedges.
So we do have some sand that we use for high school rodeo. We bring in, maybe 100 tons of sand for one of their events, and then we pull it out. We could easily put some of that sand in there, and it's good. It's just not the same washed
It's going to compact.
sand. So it'll compact a little more. We could throw some sand in there just to build it up, mix the two sands together. I think they'd be fine. Until we got a better long-term solution, we could try to do that. We're probably looking at needing to put 2 to 3 inches across the entire volleyball court.
And that let them at least utilize the facility. If it isn't right, then we haven't lost something anyway. But I want you to schedule the facility. Not because if you just depend on being able to go in there and play, if somebody's there, you can't kick them out. So it needs to be scheduled for these times that you put down here and stuff, in my opinion.
And the fee would be waived because I don't have that in my budget to pay for that.
They're gonna do a lot of raking and cleaning, is all I can say.
Yeah, that's part of our conditioning and our plan, right, is to raking to get them ready for the day. We just needed a little softer in some areas. There's 2 courts that particularly around the middle of it, underneath the net, that was really compacted. There are areas around that is softer. So adding a little bit, that would be great, and that would be our warm-up, is raking some sand.
And honestly, come in with a hand, just a hand tiller.
So that's still too deep. We have four-wheeler, we have an attachment that'll go on a four-wheeler that works pretty well. It just overheats the four-wheeler. I took the backhoe over the other day to do some work in it, and so those drains are working pretty well. They're pulling a lot of moisture off, but where those drains are, it turns into like a liquid mud. So when you're driving over the sand, if you cross one of those drains, and you sink. And so I buried that backhoe a couple times last week, just trying to get in there and move some sand around. And so depending on the piece of equipment, what we use in there, and then one of the things we run into is frequency. How often are we going to groom the sand? Because again, we rent it a couple times a year. We try to, we rent it out a handful of times a year, but not nearly as much as we rent out some of the other areas of the venue. We spend a little bit more time trying to rehab.
Well, you know your personnel and what you got, and so if we're gonna give this away and stuff, we'll work with them, but we're not gonna overdo it. It's my opinion.
And I can look in to see how much the cost of the correct washed sand would be, just to see how much it would cost. I think we'd probably be a few $1,000s, probably $5,000 maybe.
Well, just to clarify, I agree with Commissioner Moser. I'm not advocating that we dump a bunch of sand in there that's just going to blow away. I'm not for that.
Okay.
So I agree 100% with what Commissioner Moser said, that we have to have it set up, that it makes sense to then go to this next step, and we're not just wasting time and money. But it sounds like you said that you think this is dangerous.
Yeah, honestly, I've played a lot of beach in my life, I guess. And if you're diving, the degree that I want my girls to be playing and the effort, like we're diving for balls, that's what we're working on. I feel like that sand is, right now, the condition that I saw, I walked 2 days ago down there. And I did notice that there had been some work done around there, and that the water had drained, which I was thrilled about. And the nets are nice. We're missing that one net on the far side.
It's
but,
up today. It was up yesterday.
Awesome. But it is, like, it's compact, so asking somebody to dive, asking my girls to dive on that, I actually would be worried about injuries for them.
So do we have the money in the budget to do this? Because it probably wasn't anticipated in the budget process.
No, it's just funded in our maintenance budgets.
So you'll have
We
to
try to
take
find-
from some other project to make this happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if this is dangerous, then it's, maybe we don't have a volleyball court at this time to rent.
So we've talked about design, right? Design issue of the complex when it was originally designed. There was a natural a gully that runs right through the volleyball court. So it pulls the water from the hills and all the substrate that happens, and the water just flows into the volleyball courts. So it's one of those things that for years, even when it's dry outside, if we go over and we dig down about a foot, you can see running water underneath there. When they went in to install that the drain, they said it was like 2 to 3 inches under some places that they hit hard play, and that's just years of that sediment running down underneath there. I think it's the wrong place for the volleyball courts, but this is in hindsight, right? I think it'd be a better location for another sport, maybe pickleball or something. And if we wanted volleyball courts, you put them somewhere where they're not in the middle of a natural water runway. And so that's part of the issue. I did address this with, I talked to Sean Menchaca a little bit about this because of our conditional, our lease agreement, and he wants to keep those there. So if we want to move them, it's just something we'd have to have
I guess we're
discussion.
moving them.
What?
Yeah.
I think moving them is probably a good idea. We could put them down by the basketball court where they're a little bit out of the way and out of the weather, and then we could maybe look at just throwing some concrete on top of that and turn them into pickleball courts, and those would also get used a ton. So we have an option to maybe move them, but we'd have to throw some money into new shrubs, into kind of trying to maintain those, which the shrubs, you'd almost have to do completely around the courts to block that wind. It's pretty bad up there.
But we could anticipate that and put that in next year's
We
budget.
could, yeah.
So here's my concern. If this thing currently, this is dangerous and people are likely to get injured if they're using them in a normal fashion that you would normally use a sand volleyball court for. And we're on notice now that they're dangerous. maybe we don't have volleyball courts to rent. Maybe we should close them off until we can actually create something, whether it's here or elsewhere,
Sure.
that is not dangerous to the public or to specific teams. So I'm kind of concerned about this thing that we're bringing people into something where we know, or we can likely know that people are going to get injured.
Yeah, if they're not diving, then they're not gonna have a problem, but the
Yeah, but
level
we
of
could-
play.
That's something you
yeah,
normally do.
in sand volleyball, and the level of play that I expect my
Right.
girls to be at, and I have freshmen up to seniors, that will be playing, my level of expectations, and I have high expectations, I will say, so when I'm looking at this and saying it's, dangerous for a lot of people, it's probably not, and they could care less, but for me and my team, that's not, it is like, I feel that's dangerous for my team.
Well, following that line of thinking, we could shut all of the fields and stuff down there because
Yeah.
I've heard from numerous people
Yeah.
that the soccer fields are
Yes.
dangerous, the football fields are dangerous.
Yeah, use it your own
It's-
risk.
Use at your own risk. It's a park.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I understand the concern, but I don't think it's a valid concern at this point in time. So I agree, let's not put a bunch of money into it, till it up, let them use it. You guys go in and do some maintenance, keep it to a spot where you can, and then we take a bigger picture look at relocating them because this is an ongoing problem that we've got to fix. And so moving it's probably the right thing to do.
And we could do something that doesn't look as nice. I mean, we have snow fence up there. I can take in and throw some snow fence in tomorrow and throw in a little bit of extra sand and see how that works, if that makes a difference. The volleyball courts don't get rented a lot, but they get used. I've never had an injury reported to us from them.
Yeah.
I'm
Nothing.
sorry?
We've never had any injuries reported from the volleyball courts before. I get what she's saying, that man, there's an expectation of competitive volleyball that they're going to be diving for things, and that is going to put them at risk. Whether it's on a hard surface or on a sand surface,
Yeah.
it's still going to put them at risk. I don't feel like the volleyball courts are a danger to the public,
Okay.
Yeah.
but I do think that we could do a little bit extra work.
Yeah, I don't think I think it's a use at your own risk, and you know what you're doing, but I've stated my,
So basically, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we waive the fee, but we do a minimal amount of work on them to see if it satisfies. If it doesn't satisfy, we're out nothing, you're out nothing.
yeah.
But don't put a lot of time and energy. I mean, you're coming into your season now, and it's gonna get real busy up there, and so I'll leave it at your discretion and work with them. And anything to add to that?
No.
We have the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay?
Thank you. Appreciate your
Thank you
time.
very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that's a decent transition into the next thing we can talk about is the fields. So we had talked a couple of weeks ago about getting some information on putting soccer fields or putting multi-use fields down in the southwest corner across from the office. So we met with Bill Jackson, the engineer. We met with Pocatello Sod, Pipeco, and a fencing company to kind of get a general bid. What we're looking at is around $225,000 for sod, $140,000 for sprinklers. The fence would come in somewhere in the it was close to $40,000, and everybody that's given us bids has given us a pretty good deal on this stuff. We would go in and we would level the ground out. We talked to Pocatello City about the water use because that was a concern that somebody had expressed, that we have to have enough water service to get down there. We do have a 6-inch main that is a private line for the county that's metered up at the top of the street. So we could tap into that 6-inch, and that 6-inch would water the whole area down there. And then we would just have to worry about the water. I have spoken to a couple of groups. I talked to PVSC Soccer, and they have got some folks that are looking at ways to help with funding on a project like this. So we do have some feelers out there to try to help reduce the cost of that, but that's kind of where we're sitting right now. It's somewhere in that $350,000 to $350,000, somewhere in that area. And that doesn't include us grading or leveling that thing out. Really what we'd probably need to do is push some of the trees and stuff into one of the water areas, have a controlled burn, and then fill everything in so that we didn't have any of that material that could just decompose and cause holes for us in the future. We looked at two different options. One was like, they don't spray it, apparently they spike it is what it's called now, where they go in and they install some, a system where it actually spikes the ground with the seed. They think that the watering and the time to get the seed to grow would kill the cost of just having it done with sod. With sod, we could be ready to play in 2 weeks. With seed, you'd be looking for the summer.
This is not on the agenda, so we can't make a decision.
Oh, I thought that was on the agenda. I'm sorry. Never mind. I definitely thought that was on the agenda. I apologize.
Lease agreement.
There's a
Idaho Power.
discussion on here, but there's,
No action item for it.
yeah, I think that's what it said.
Well, if that's okay, then we can have the discussion and I'll make a vote. I can proceed with trying to find people that are, that can try to help with costs of that, but I just want to brief you on what that would cost. We still know what it would cost to do the championship field. Like I'm sure many of you guys have been up to the complex and driven by, things are green. They're green enough. We're doing a pretty good job of keeping that thing moving. We'll start again here probably, well, this week's high school rodeo, so probably the week after we'll start bird draining and fertilizing again. We got the recommendations for the fertilizer, how much fertilizer to use on that complex. When we set our top dresser for the first pass, we set it too heavy and it dumped a ton of fertilizer on that first part, and that part is the greenest place in the world. So we actually think if we
And
do
you're
a little
mowing
bit
4
more-
times a week.
we are mowing it a lot, yeah. So if we you know, throw a little more fertilizer, I think we could see better results as well. The championship field is full of holes, but those holes are just where the grass bunches have got to grow in there. So if we're not looking to take out that crown in the field, I think we could try to get that growth to continue.
Well, I think everything that we've talked about here is discussion for further down. I mean,
Okay.
the pickleball, the moving the court, the
We have budget for 2
championship
weeks.
field. So,
And with an agendized.
I thought it was on there, my bad. I definitely thought it was on there.
I appreciate the update because I've reached out to a couple of companies about this, and so now I can at least give them back some information, so.
Great. Okay, so then,
Idaho Power.
Idaho Power is on the agenda. We'll talk about Idaho. Okay, so we've been working with Idaho Power to gain access to that lot directly across from the basketball courts. We got a contract from them. What we had talked about was similar with a lot of our concert contracts where we redline the stuff that we don't agree with, sign it, send it back to them. They are aware of all of the concerns we would have with indemnification. I talked to them about the non-appropriations clause. Initially, we had talked about doing a 5-year contract, but these guys threw in there a 9-year contract with our options up to go up to 9 years, which is fantastic because the rates are really, really good. And so I have made the changes that we wanted to see from running it through legal, and I present those to you today for consideration and signature to send back over to them.
What did you say about a 9-year contract?
So if you look on page, I think it's at the bottom, maybe the first part of page 2, there's the rent schedule.
I see that.
So initially, we had talked about a 5-year contract, so the first, they actually included 5 additional years, sorry, not 9, but 5 additional years on the back end that we could continue if that was, it's subject to, you know, us approving those additional years, so.
So it sounds like you have an option to continue
Yes.
this after this, okay.
Which I think is gonna be a great idea for us, whether we, you know, open that up for just any events that we have, it's just additional revenue, or additional, options, I guess.
Takes a weed patch out of the area. So,
And this part of this agreement does require Road and Bridge to come in and do some work for us, which they've already gone in and scrubbed out all the sagebrush, and kind of leveled that thing out. It looks fantastic. They do great work and they're super fast. We appreciate everything they've done for us. And so, and then we'll work with those guys to get that thing leveled out and get the road put in, once this contract's signed.
Okay. Any concerns, questions?
I'm not seeing this additional 5-year option anywhere in this thing. Maybe I missed
It is on your
it.
front page on
On
that
the front
contract.
page?
Or the maybe one or two.
No, I see the schedule.
Yeah, the schedule, that's the only thing on there, and so there's an asterisk, if option term is exercised, is all they put on their asterisk.
Yeah, but does it actually have any language about the option term anywhere in here?
No, that's all it has on there, is if the option term, so,
Oh, no, here it is. I found it. Never mind. I found it. Okay.
Scott, you're going to put a fence around this too, right?
yes. So the fence we're gonna put up on, we're gonna use their existing fence on the Chubbuck Road side. The north side, and then we're gonna put up temporary fencing around that we can actually, so we can control the flow into and out of the venue. And the temporary fencing will go down to where that new road is gonna be around, it'll kind of follow the new road back, and then we'll have gates that they'll have access to.
So new fencing will be on Fairgrounds Road.
Yes, yes. And we're hoping just to get temporary fencing, just to maybe see if we can't use Downey's fence, that they have that temporary fence again.
And do you feel the revenue generated by this will offset the box cost?
Mhm.
Okay.
Anything else?
Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve the lease agreement with Idaho Power for the parking lease.
Have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And just again to thank Road and Bridge for the work they're doing, they did a great job, we appreciate them.
It does look good. I drove by this morning.
All right, Todd.
Good morning, Todd Mauger with Bannock County Juvenile Justice. I'm here regarding the notice of award for the state fiscal year 2025 Substance Use Prevention Treatment Recovery Services Block Grant for Primary Prevention Programs. This is the funding from the Office of Drug Policy that has been providing the Families in Action program. The grant award this year is, it's on the back page, $10,000.
206.
206.89. It's $5 more than the grant request was for. After about 45 minutes trying to figure out where they came up with $5 more, I realized the mileage reimbursement rate was for the state was 67 cents, not 65, and so that's the difference on that. I'm here today to request a signature. I received this in the email Friday afternoon. We have 10 days to report it, so if it is signed, I'm hoping to get it sent in today, and I hope, is Christy here today, Davenport? So,
Why, what do you need?
well, because I usually take it down, she scans it.
Take it to Mandy,
Okay,
and she can scan it and then send a copy to Christie.
okay.
Come to find out, I can run a scanner too, so.
Well, with all those
Be happy to
certificate
help.
of achievements on your window, I
You
would
know
hope
it.
so.
You know it. That's one of them.
Well, good.
I don't have one of those certificates. They don't let me near that.
I got my scanning certificate on there.
Any concerns?
No, but this requires us to manage an ODP system, the Neighborly Online Grant Platform. Who does that?
Yeah, that's
who does
something, that's
grant
something I've
from?
been doing for years. It's basically where we submit our data, request our draws, submit our invoices. It's a electronic database through the Idaho Office of Drug Policy.
Okay, so does the grant team have access to that?
We coordinate that one with Tom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we accept the grant as discussed.
we have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Want this one?
I sure do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want me to go and do it?
I'll get it.
Mandy's done
Okay.
it.
That's what all about it.
All right. Are you here for the signature? Or are you just here?
Both.
I'm here on, for the signature on the trespass, if that's what we'll be.
We can move to that real quick, just a quick one. So, this is a notice of trespass for Nikki Taysom. After the effects of the last few weeks, we're gonna trespass her again. Is there any questions? Comments? Any comments?
The only concern that was brought up.
Go ahead and come up and introduce yourself.
Yes.
You get to be on camera.
Corporal Jen Warner with the Court Marshal's office here in the courthouse. The only concern that was kind of brought up with our office is sometimes when she comes to the courthouse, we have to escort her through the courthouse after she's trespassed for her to be able to gain access to get things from bonds and fines. Sometimes we don't have the staffing to be able to do that, to accommodate that. I know that we had talked with Mr. Trammell about letting her have access or allowing or notifying her that she has access to online, over the phone, or having other means of access to what she needs to file. And then she would only have to have an appointment or have court to be able to come into the courthouse. That way we're not having to escort her, because sometimes she tends to squirrel and she's like, oh, I've got to use the bathroom, or I need to go to the treasurer's office, and then we kind of have to just follow her through. So I don't know if we can limit her to specifics, or if we can, I don't know if there's a limitation to how long we need to follow her through the courthouse, or, because if she comes through, then we have to follow her through.
And I'd say that she has a specific item that she's coming here, it is court business, and she can make an appointment. I mean, she can come and talk to you and say, I need to make an appointment. I'm not coming in right now, I'm making an appointment, or if you have time. If you don't have time and people, she makes an appointment. And I think we're not denying her any of her civil rights.
And the other concern is too, is I know that she does try to call and make an appointment, and I know we just recently had an issue with my judge, Judge Carnaroli. She called 183 times, left a message 183 times on his phone. But because she is repeat call offender, people tend to not answer her phone calls, so then she can't make appointments.
But if she comes to the front there and you don't have somebody, then tell her, make the appointment right then
Okay,
for later.
okay.
We're not denying her anything, and everybody's, I mean, Braden's phone gets filled with
Oh, yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, she
So-
calls everywhere in the courthouse, so.
So I think that we're allowing her, I mean, she's made the choices, we've given her ample opportunities to do what we've asked her to do and act appropriately, but if she comes in, she doesn't get to go to any place and every place she wants. She makes an appointment for a specific duty or
And correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe I don't know, but the only place that I know that she would have to go to, even if we brought her in the courthouse, would be first floor bonds and fines. She wouldn't have any other business anywhere else within the courthouse unless she had an appointment with someone. And if someone has an appointment with her, we would kindly request that they would send us an email so we can schedule someone to be able to be with her, to escort her to that person. So, I mean, that's just our opinion on it, is that she had no other place to go other than bonds and fines, so she wouldn't have any other business unless there was an appointment or a court.
So would the appointments be covered if she had an information request? She would just make an appointment with...
that's allowed online.
And she does have a smartphone, and we've noticed that she has a smartphone, so she has access to the internet on her phone. The concern is that she couldn't go to the library because she's trespassed from probably everywhere in Pocatello. So we were wondering about access to the internet, but from what I understand, she has a smartphone and she's able to have access. I can't confirm that 100%.
Well, she can come present that to us if that's a problem.
Correct. So, and if it comes down to it, we don't want to spend all day running paperwork to her from bonds and fines to the door. That's our big problem, is because we have other tasks that need our attention other than her. And we don't want to be tied up with her in the courthouse, talking to the employees about what she thinks she needs. But we just want to make it as easy and quick as possible, and if we can direct her online and let her know she can get 99% of her stuff online, we would prefer to do that than have her come in the courthouse, so.
Yeah, and I'd say we just tell her when she served the notice,
Yes, sir.
all the conditions.
And I do have an officer on standby, so once it's approved, I can take it to the sheriff's office and have it served.
Okay. Signature. And then she signs this?
If she refuses to sign it, then the officer that was there signs it on her behalf that she was served in person, and then it's effective. In the past, typically she refuses to sign it, or she refuses to even take it, but it's served upon her and she's given a copy of it, so.
Okay. Questions?
Nope.
Comments? We good then?
Yes, sir.
All right. Motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve the trespass as discussed.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thanks, sir.
You want to make sure Christie gets a copy of that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Do you want a copy of the served one?
I mean, it's Davenport,
Okay,
so maybe next week.
okay. Thank you.
All right. Dory.
Good morning. Tory Danner, Bannock County Coroner. I am just here to do an update. So, you guys all get the 2023 annual report?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You guys have any questions on that?
Go for it.
Is that no?
No, go ahead.
Okay. All right, I'll read the message to the Board of Commissioners and citizens of Bannock County. Bannock County Coroner's Office is statutorily obligated to investigate and determine the cause and manner of deaths that are unattended, accidental, violent in nature, suspicious, or in a death of a child that occurred in Bannock County. Our investigations are parallel but separate from law enforcement investigation. The Office of the Coroner certifies the death certificate and the investigation after an investigation and postmortem examination on the decedent as required by law. Complete findings of the death investigation are distributed to law enforcement agencies as appropriate and can be made available to families upon request. The main duties of the Office of the Coroner are to determine the cause and manner of death and certify deaths that are reported to the coroner. The cause of the death is the disease process or an injury that resulted in death. There are thousands of diseases and injuries that may result in death. The manner of death is the classification in which the determination is made regarding whether the death resulted from natural causes, homicide, suicide, accident, or classified as undetermined based on the lack of definitive evidence. Information collected during the investigation helps clarify the circumstances such as the sequence of events prior to death, evidence collected during an investigation and/or postmortem examination that may help lead to the arrest or successful conviction of a suspect in a criminal case. Because deaths occur around the clock, coroner staff must be available 24 hours a day, 365 days per year. For the first time in Bannock County, the staff of Bannock County Coroner's Office have been certified with the American Board of Medical Legal Death Investigations with the skill and experience of ABMDI certified death investigators and board certified forensic pathologists. We believe the quality of the death investigations in Bannock County is among the best in the state. The death scene investigation reports filed by the investigators are very thorough and comprehensive. Our investigators also extend their duties to the community by answering questions and addressing concerns regarding deaths within the county. Investigators frequently make personal contact with family members of a deceased and assist them with providing the appropriate answers regarding the circumstances of the death. The Bannock County Coroner's Office utilizes the MDI log for the case management and storage. MDI log is a comprehensive investigative report database system that enables the coroner to review death scene investigation information from a secure internet site any time of the day. MDI log has enabled investigators to input death investigation death scene investigation reports in an efficient manner. NBI Log has enabled us to evolve and become a more valuable tool for our office, and it is now utilized by many medical examiners and coroner offices across the country. To the benefit of the commissioners, I ask for the support and the growth of the evolution of this office and the services we provide to the citizens of Bannock County. Thank you. So that is a letter that we include that's addressed to you and our community in the county, just to kind of give a brief overview of what we do, right? We also wanted to provide this report, and it kind of gets into the details of where we're at, what we're looking to do. I know that you guys saw this last year. I believe the first year that we put this out. This is the same, just with the updated information. So I just kind of wanted to sit and kind of just give an update and talk to you guys about if you have any questions, concerns, and just kind of, see where you guys are at.
Explain the cases accepting jurisdiction. What is that?
So when we get, cases accepted jurisdiction, when we get a phone call, hospital, say they have a policy that says within 24 hours, if somebody goes up and dies, then they reach out to our office and they walk us through that case because they've only had them within 24 hours. That's just their policy. By statute, I can say, hey, really they're under doctor's care. But a lot of those cases, maybe they're being transported from a crash or something. So it really gives us an opportunity to look at that and say, is this going to be a coroner's case or should it be a coroner's case? But then we can release that. So that's where we would accept the jurisdiction or not. And it's all based on the circumstances. So like when they call, we actually have a questionnaire.
So does the cases reported to the coroner include those 200?
Cases, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, cases reported to the coroner are as a total. But yeah, a lot of that just helps us because, they may have been flown in from a crash in another county. They may have, so we want to be able to, it's a good policy. We've found that they're doing that because then we get notified a lot more often about some of the cases that probably should have been ours, but because they come in from another county, if they die in Bannock County, they're still ours. So we catch everything if they're flown in, airlifted, because we have a trauma center here. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So the 644 cases that are reported, are those Bannock County resident deaths, or those are just all the deaths that occurred?
That's everything that we do in total.
Okay.
So yeah, that 653 is in total. So everything that we create a case on, work on, spend time on, everything that we do.
Okay.
Then the number of cremations approved, what's your role in that? What's the deal there?
So the coroner's office has to sign off on every cremation, whether it's a coroner's case or a hospital case. In order to do that, we have to take the time and look at the case. So we'll get the DC, the death certificate, and we will go through that and find out if there's any signs of injuries or suspicious nature, anything, any reason that we should not authorize this cremation, because sometimes we have doctors that'll sign off on, this is a natural death, but then when you get down into the due to, it also, everything started with a fall, ground level fall, and then everything happened in the hospital and they ultimately died. So what that means is then it's a injury case and it has to be reviewed by us, and we have to take that over, find out when the fall happened, and then do the entire report. In order for us to do that, we can't sign off on the cremation because we're going to need to keep that body. If there should be a criminal investigation, we don't want to cremate that body because we want to have another look. So in order for us to be able to sign off and authorize that cremation, that's a huge piece of evidence that ultimately we are authorizing to destroy. And so we look at every single one, spend time, find out what the nature is before it's authorized.
Well, I've
And
just
then we-
heard lately that cremations are going up, and this
Yeah.
proves it. People don't want to pay, and actually, some of our morticians, it's affecting their business
Right,
because they don't have
because they have to
crematory.
outsource. Right,
So, anyway.
yeah. Yeah, so that's, we create a case on every one of those. That way we can document that, yes, we reviewed it, yes, this is okay. Because sometimes it'll, the state reviews all of that as well, and the state will kick back.
Other questions?
What's your cause for your uptick in autopsies?
I don't know that there's a cause. I mean, every case that we look at, there's always a circumstance of lack of medical history, age. If it's a criminal case, there's a lot of different factors as far as why we do autopsies, but every case is examined and determined whether or not we need an autopsy. Ultimately, when we go in and we do an investigation, we want to be able to definitively say this is why they died. When we determine cause and manner based on our investigation, if we can't definitively say based on our evidence or the information that we have, then ultimately it might lead to a autopsy. But there are normal, so like if it's a child death, that's going to be an automatic. If it's a gun crime or a homicide or anything like that, that's going to be an automatic for us. If it's something of a younger individual that they don't have, like if they don't have a huge medical history, like if it was expected, they just elected not to do hospice or something, but they have all the documentation and we can definitively say it's related based on talking with their doctors. That's something, and the doctor might even sign. That's what we also can do, is we reach out to the doctor and say, hey, you've been treating him the whole digression of this process. Would you like to sign? And sometimes they'll elect to sign because they were. So even though they died at home, and so it's just really difficult to say why or why not, but we really try to fall within what's being asked of us as far as how many autopsies we do. We just do an autopsy if it requires it or if it needs.
With your toxicology following the growth rate, I'm assuming that you're seeing an increase in drug deaths, looking at the chart below where you're seeing some of those things changing.
Right. Yeah. Well, and a lot of that, so why we do toxicology, if there's an autopsy, toxicology is automatic, okay? So toxicology is automatically going to be done at an autopsy. But there are cases where if we are just, we're going, you know what, we really don't have enough information, but we probably ought to pull tox. Sometimes we'll pull tox if they had a diabetic issue, because in that toxicology information, it'll give us those like, ketoacidosis or anything, those levels. We'll be able to see that information when we gain those.
And since you've been the coroner, we've seen about a 25% increase in autopsies year to year.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah.
Do you anticipate that trend to continue since we're getting ready for budget?
Right.
Have that discussion.
And again, I mean, that's kind of why we've tried to keep our numbers, is so that we can look back and see our numbers. But it's really difficult because, I mean, based on our numbers, yeah, we can say, yeah, we've seen an increase. But like I say, autopsies, when we go in there, I had a gentleman the other day. We went in, just lack of medical history. Because of his age, we determined that we needed an autopsy. But I mean, we really don't know that until we get in there and do the investigation. We really can't say that, yeah, we're gonna do this many, because every autopsy that we do is based on the investigation and where it leads, to make sure that we can get that definitive answer or definitive results for that. Because the goal in our office is to maintain that transparency, right? If somebody was to come back to me and say, hey, why did you determine this cause and manner? We want to be able to definitively say, through our thorough investigation, we gained this information, and this is why we made that determination and made that decision. But all of that information is logged, whether it be medical records, toxicology, if we do a full autopsy, whatever the case may be. We want to be able to maintain that transparency, and that's the reason that we go in and do our investigations the way that we do.
Okay.
John?
I just want to tell you, I appreciate the work you've done in elevating the office from where
Thank
it's
you.
at, and compared to some of the surrounding counties, we are head and shoulders above some of our neighbors. So I appreciate the work that you're doing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys' support. I mean, it's been a big process. When we jumped in there was a lot. I think we've talked about this 5 years ago. We didn't have an office. We were running out of a garage. So this has been a extremely big process. It's been
And
a
you
big
talk
change.
about certification here. Why is that important?
Well, certification is when I go to court, so early on, right, I did my training. There wasn't a lot of in-person because we were right on the heels of COVID, right? So I did my online training and information, stuff like that. Well, when you go to court and you have to testify and they come up and they say, well, Mr. Danner, what's your training and education? I tell them, well, I've taken some online courses, because at the time there wasn't a lot of in-person, like I said, on the heels of COVID. So we start talking about that, and I told them, well, I've taken online death investigation courses with emphasis in this, and this. To be honest with you, I felt like I might as well have told them, well, I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express yesterday, but I started my day with a V8. It just didn't carry the weight. And when we talk about service and what we provide to our community and the families, that's that full circle. When we go to court and have to testify for what we did, we want to have that certification. We want to have that third party that's assessing what we're doing, and they're, saying that we are doing it at an elevated level that is nationally recognized. And so that's why it was important from the first homicide trial that I went in and sat there and told them my experience versus the second homicide trial that I was able to sit in and testify. We were nationally certified, so I have my ABMDI certification, JR does, and our investigator is on his way to finishing his up. So, and that is now the standard. Because of that, any one of us can be involved in a homicide investigation or any investigation that could go to court, whether it be civil, criminal, or anything. We never want to be the reason that something falls through on a prosecutorial side. We want to be good partners with our prosecutors and our law enforcement and everybody that's doing that. And that's my belief of how we offer that elevated service to our community.
Thank you.
So, and that's along that line, that's our goal. Our next goal is to finish our accreditation. So, once we get, and we're pretty close, there's a couple things that we need to finish up. I think we've talked about that, and we're looking for some different options as far as, we're looking to try and find a morgue facility and see how that's going to fit, because what we have, it's working, but I don't think it's a long-term solution. So I would ask that we can try and maybe find something, but those are our options. We're also I was talked to about an AED. I was asked if I needed an AED in my office at the time. We didn't think we needed one, but then looking through the requirements of the accreditation and things that we're looking to gain in the future, they do require one in our office. So we're currently talking with them to see within that project if that's differently funded, or I also have a grant that I found that's an opportunity that we can look into. We have submitted to the grant team. We're kind of looking to see if this will even work for Dan's. I don't know what funding he's using or what he's got going. I just know he was the one that was looking to see who needs AEDs. But there is a grant through aedgrant.com that might be suitable, it might help. I don't know what funds have been laid out for that, but that would be something we'd be looking to gain as well in the future.
That'll come before the board next week.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we don't need anything right now. I just kind of want to, it's just good to have a conversation. Like I say, this is just an update on what we're doing, why we're doing it, and, any feedback from you guys is also helpful as far as, what you guys would like to see in the future as well.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Are you guys waiting for this resolution? Okay. Sorry, I was looking at the agenda there, and am I missing something?
Just enjoying
A morning with us, the whole morning. Our joy too. All right, Christie, let's go with you.
Christy Clauser, Comptroller. 2 items for the board. The first is a Office of Drug Policy grant. We received notification that we were awarded this grant. We need to just have you formally accept it. It's for $16,380. It will be overtime patrols for the Sheriff's Office for the dates July 1st through June 30th next fiscal year.
Okay,
Any questions?
any concerns? Motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve the grant award as presented.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. I'll have Amanda make sure Christy gets a copy.
Thank you.
The next item is a Tyler agreement. So Tyler bought out Access Idaho, which is the company that we do credit cards for the departments listed on page 6, 7, and 8. The user pays the fees. So this doesn't have a fiscal impact to the county specifically. The fees fall in line with what was charged through Access Idaho. So it's just basically updating the vendor.
Okay. Comments? Motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve the updated agreement as discussed.
A motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Da, da, da.
Chairman, can I get that one as well?
Next, we have review of changes made to an agreement to provide law enforcement. What this was is the mayor made changes after we'd signed this. I said, well, it still needs to come back to us then, if she's putting something else on it. So it's just to say that, yeah, or we could initial, I could initial next to hers or whatever. But any concerns with that?
No. So, Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve the amended agreement and authorize chair to initial said changes.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Independent contractor agreement with CM Company. And this is the 6th Avenue that we'd already just signing the agreement. Any questions?
Nope. Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve the agreement with CM Company.
A motion, all in favor, say aye.
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 And next, we have the resolution 2024-33, authorizing purchase of goods and services for public works on open market. That's why I wondered if you guys were here just to watch us sign this.
Mr. Chair, I don't like this one.
Mr. We're here for support.
Mr. Chair, I move that we authorize or approve Resolution 2024-33.
Have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then final but not the least important, the rodeo, high school rodeo starts Monday. And so I got a call from George Chandler. They'd got a hold of the chiefs and wanted them to do a ribbon cutting and stuff, and they didn't get any response back. So we'd done a proclamation a couple of years back. So we'll do a proclamation for the week to be high school rodeo days in Bannock County. And then we're invited to be up there Monday night at 5:30 to, I'll go read the proclamation.
Okay.
Motion on this?
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve the proclamation.
Do you want me to read it? Or?
Yeah, you need the practice.
Whereas Bannock County is honored and excited to host the Idaho High School Rodeo Finals for over 20 years. And whereas we recognize these finalists are the best of the best in high school rodeo, athletes from every corner of the state of Idaho and who represent the future of Idaho rodeo. And whereas we also have in attendance the family members, the friends of these athletes showing their support, as well as the finals officials, the state presidency, and the state board of directors. And whereas we want to acknowledge with gratitude the volunteers and generous sponsors who, without their gift of time, energy, and support, this event would not be possible. And whereas on behalf of citizens of Bannock County, we applaud you as you aspire to achieve rodeo greatness. Here's to a week full of riveting rodeo action. Now, therefore, we, the Bannock County Commissioners, Ernie Moser, Jeff Huff, and John Crowder, do hereby proclaim June 8th through June 15th, 2024 as Idaho High School Rodeo Week. In witness thereof, we hereby set our hand on this 7th day of June in the year 2024. Okay? We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.